Hey all, Keith Grevenitz here, bringing you another review for our channel, The Beat Session. Please subscribe if you've yet to. Today's review comes for a band that has long been on my radar, and it makes sense because they've been around since 1992. Releasing their first original music since 2015, Built to Spill came out with When the Wind Forgets Your Name today, September 9th, 2020. Love the name of this album. That's just a little indicator of how creative this band. Built to Spill has been around forever, and I wouldn't be doing this review any justice if I didn't tell you a little bit about them. Doug Martsch, spelled Martsch, was a guitarist for the Tree People in the late 80s and left to start his own band, Built to Spill. His original vision for the band had temporary rhythm sections. He intended to have a new bassist and a new drummer for each album, but eventually stabilized with steady players for about 10 years before more recently in their chronology turning to the proverbial musical chairs that Martsch had attended. Besides Martsch, there have been 10 other members of the band in its 30-year history. This is essentially a Seattle Northwest alt grunge band that has stood the test of time. Like the tortoise and the hare of the grunge scene. Martsch and Company released a 2020 album covering the works of lo-fi alternative artist Daniel Johnston, who had quite the cult following. And in that scene, it further erupted years ago when Kurt Cobain wore a t-shirt from Johnston's 1983 album. Johnston recorded most of his music on cassette at home, playing keys, guitar, drums, and providing the vocals as well. He died of a suspected heart attack in 2019, and Martsch released Built to Spill plays songs of Johnston. Okay, let's get to today's album. The current lineup for When the Wind Forgets Your Name has Martsch joined by two female artists, Melanie Redford on bass and Teresa Esquera on drums. I have to say, guys, this album rocks. It starts with a pleasing grungy guitar riff and some great drums on Gonna Lose. Esquera's drumming on this album is definitely a standout. The song seems to be psychedelic in subject matter and talks about taking acid and losing your mind. Martsch sings, I've come to realize time is all wrong. Answers materialize and then they're gone. They appear, but the ones like that disappear and they don't come back. I have to say, I can relate to this. Having an epiphany and then forgetting it later. Fool's Gold is the second track, and it takes me back to the 1990s. Relatively clean guitar with March's dreamy voice singing Just a Dream. Understood as a simple four-chord alternative song with another psychedelic dreamy theme. Martsch is definitely a cool lyricist. He sings in this one, the deaf can hear and the blind can see. Just different things. Elements is the fourth track and definitely my favorite. It's spacey and mellow with more psychedelic lyrics that touch me with this poetic dreaminess. March's voice is hypnotizing and his guitar complementary to the vibe. We get an organ breakdown in the middle that is brought back to the verse with March's guitar work. This is a feel good song, and I definitely feel like it's one that I could keep on repeat. Rocksteady is another groovy track that I loved. It opens with a walking bass riff and then is joined by psychedelic guitar sound. Martsch sings, I don't want to be constantly taking this long, hard look at myself. This psychology's been inside me. I don't know how to be anyone else. My heart doesn't have time for that. It's too busy pumping blood. Love it. Like a poem. Reads well. Spiderweb is a bright one, with major modes resolving happily. It sings about lifelong feelings and how they've persisted. This is pop punky and I still like it a lot. Kind of reminds me of REM. As with the rest of the album, the lyrics are relatable and worth listening to. Never Alright is another similar track with a really cool bridge at about a minute and 20 that comes back to some muted guitar riffing that highlights March's voice and the rhythm section. And then we get a melodic guitar solo that bleeds into trippy guitar slides. Bring us back to the main riff. It's a well written song, it really is. Juxtaposed with that song, Never Alright, is Alright. Alright is a beautiful love song that may also be about people in general and how humanity has become in this COVID and post COVID era. Martsch sings back and forth till all meaning is gone, and I'll open up for you, but I'm not a parachute, and I can't keep you from falling. Take some chances on yourself. You belong to something else. He goes on, life goes on and on, year after year. Don't recommend it, but I'm glad I'm still here. Comes the Day is the last track, and I have to highlight the fun lyrics again. I'm not a shirt, I'm not a shoe. You don't ever have to put me on. And for the record, I'm not a record. Don't put me on. Very simple song that's carried by smart lyrics. Highly recommend paying attention to the lyrics throughout this album. If you can, listen along and watch what he has to say. I definitely give When the Wind Forgets Your Name a vinyl please and an 8 out of 10 on the volume scale. This is a grunge album and it plays its role very well in showing us that real OG alternative music most certainly isn't dead. I can definitely see myself listening to past albums, and I'm going to take a close look at the Daniel Johnston cover album, which seems like a music head must. Hey, thanks for listening, and if you haven't, please subscribe. And also, I really would love to hear your thoughts on in the comments. Happy Friday, y'all. September is a great month for music releases, and we have plenty of winners coming out that are must listens. I'm Keith Grevenitz with the Beat Sessions. Stay tuned. Peace.